In today's video, I want to cover a project that a lot of people are really bearish on, and I've actually ended up buying a few of these NFTs, right? So I actually ended up buying 4 of their NFTs, and I'm gonna tell you why I did that and what my thoughts are. And I'm talking about BitBrawl. So here's the story. So BitBrawl is a Solana gaming project. It's like a brawler, so kind of think like Super Smash Bros, like 2D, but you have characters that jump around and so on. So I can actually show you a quick little demo. Right now their website and their demo is gone. All right, so let me show you a quick little preview of what this looks like. So this is kind of a little piece of footage that they had, right? This is so essentially what this game is, it's a P versus P brawler, right? Player versus player brawler, and you have to get tokens. And here's what happened, right? So they came out with a playable demo when they minted. They minted out, they had 8,300 brawlers, they minted it out. And one of the selling points of the game was the fact that you could actually use other Solana NFTs. So in this case, Pesky Penguins, for example, in-game, right? So they partnered with all these Solana projects to be able to use their NFTs in-game, which just led to viral growth and them minting out and a ton of hype. However, what then happened is the demo it was received kind of like, it was received with mild reception, right? The demo wasn't considered that great. It was considered okay, right? But obviously this is a super early gaming stage project. But then what happened from there is they essentially took down the website, right? So if you go on the website, it says we're working on a new website, please come back later. And obviously this message here. All right, guys, so 2 days ago, they didn't have their demo out. They do now again. So they have had their demo. They had the message that you obviously saw. Now we go in here, and the way this works, so this is kind of obviously me playing against myself, right? So space is one of the attacks. I think I just killed him. And then the other one is R, which is a special attack. So this is actually not the worst, you know? I don't know why that missed, but obviously there's some promise there because they had a really good idea, right? The idea was really good and they built something. It was basic, but they built something. So they had that, but essentially what they did is up till a couple days ago, they had this demo taken down. Their website was down, and the reason for this is after they launched, they started talking to some VCs to actually get a proper gaming studio to help work on this game and help them out, and to actually help them build this out properly. So I don't know why, but they took the website down because they were doing this whole talk with the VC funds, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. What's clear is this team, they're obviously inexperienced, right? They don't have the high level of experience that a lot of these other teams have. Their communication and marketing was vague. So if you look at their announcements, right, for example, they had a tokenomics update on December 30th where they said they would have, actually a screen share. So they had a tokenomics update where they said there will be 10 billion tokens with 57% for player and ecosystem, 20% for the team, and then 23 to 25%. So they have already raised funds, and I just don't understand why they haven't, they took the website down, right? Literally, you can have a website up and just explain the situation. This really hurts the credibility of their team. But from what I understand, they've gotten funding from Zoomer Fund. I couldn't find much information on them, but they also got funding from Solar Eco Fund. So they've invested in Project Seed. They have a ton of content on their Substack with thought leaders. I think it's a legitimate fund even if they're anonymous. So one tip, guys, if you're looking at these gaming projects, look at their funds, right? Like if it's anonymous funds that don't have anybody, they don't have any content, it's usually more sketchy. If they have a fully doxed team, it's less sketchy. And if they have, content or medium, that's legit, right? So these guys, Solar Eco Fund, they had impressive Substack, so I could tell that they were pretty impressive. I'm sure if I did some digging, I could find out who the founders were. On first sight, it wasn't easy to find, but they seem more legitimate. And Solar has also made a fair amount of investments, right? So currently the floor price is pretty low. I believe, let's take a look at Magic Eden. The floor price is actually 0.48, so it's gone up a bit. So I bought in at 0.35, and yesterday was 0.39. I think the demo being put back on increased their floor price a little bit. The floor price is pretty good in my opinion at 0.48 because of the fact that I do think there is potential here, right? So as I've said, the team is inexperienced. They clearly did not handle this whole, basically they built up early demo, so props to them to actually building something. They clearly, post mint, did not deal with their communication and marketing strategy. Recently, they were supposed to bring out staking, which got delayed, so they're doing an airdrop. So the team is, in my opinion, they're not even doxed, right? So they're an anonymous team, they're not doxed, inexperienced. However, I do still think it's a good buy at around the 0.35 to 0.4 range. I think at 0.48, it's maybe a little bit higher because of a couple reasons. Number one is I do think this project at its core has a great concept. Bring Solana Brawler, right? They have that. They have these communities that essentially they can import these NFTs in and play this game. And number two, with this with the NFTs, they're actually pretty promising a lot of benefits to the holders, right? So they're promising staking for tokens, airdrop tokens, etc. So if you look at their tokenomics, again, this will probably change, but they want to spend 57%. So off that, most of it will go to the players and ecosystem, right? So with marketing, partners and advisors, liquidity and development, that's around 12%, so 45% to the players and ecosystems, which is pretty high. I do think that there is some potential there because of a few reasons. Number one is they did raise their seed round. So they've made this announcement, they've raised VC funding. So clearly VCs have enough belief in them. Number two, they have a proper gaming studio building the game. So the VCs have seen enough potential where they've given them money to go hire a proper gaming studio. The VCs actually introduced them to the gaming studio. So it's essentially something where the project has had a rocky start. They're clearly inexperienced, but there is some more experienced people coming in through the VCs, and then they're bringing in these gaming studios, etc. Right? Now, the other key fact of information that they mentioned to me on Discord, and they mentioned this in an announcement, is that they have 3 years of funding, right? So they have enough funding to develop for 3 years. Now, obviously, if they keep working on it for 3 years. So here's the deal, right? I think that, okay, this project has some yellow flags, right? The team is still anonymous. They say they're going to dox themselves as time goes on, probably, but again, anonymous team at this point. So hopefully once they raise the VC funding, they sign the paperwork, they'll come out and dox themselves. Number two, communication strategy has been unclear, like taking the website down, and you can see with their announcements that they are a little bit emotional sometimes. Number three, there is the fact that they have negative momentum where a lot of these other projects and communities kind of wrote them off. So there are some cons. However, there are some positives as well. The first is they've partnered with a lot of other projects, right? That's one of my reasons for the bull case here. If the gameplay does well, if they improve the gameplay, they come back and they have these agreements with the pesky penguins and maybe other communities as well that I believe a bunch of the big communities are there. That means they could have a strong resurgence, and that's a strong base, right? That's a strong marketing base, because then if they have a good game, they are able to go out to these communities and say, hey, our game is back, it's way better, come try it out, come play your pesky penguins or whatever other NFTs you have in the game, and it's gonna be so much fun, right? Like they have something with that, which, it's smart, right? It's kind of a viral effect. Now, number two is that the NFTs do have an upside in the play to earn, right? So the NFTs do help with play to earn, as well as the token allocation side, because you get the airdrops, you get token staking. So if they're able to pull off their IDO and kind of with the VCs really turn things around, there could be some big upside, because right now this is bargain cheap, right? Especially for gaming NFTs, where most of these gaming NFTs are 6 to 10 times more expensive. So that is another big thing, is that right now their floor is pretty underpriced. Now, number three, the other big reason I like this could be a big comeback story if they come out with some great footage. So they've already hired a gaming studio, they have good VCs behind them. So there could be a comeback story here, right? And people love good comeback stories. So if they release some bomb gameplay footage, this project could easily go to 1, 2, 3 SOL overnight. So the last piece of the puzzle that I really liked is the team's willingness to pivot, right? They had a launch, they minted out, but then they had some issues with the demo, some people didn't like it. They did pivot, they went out there, they got VC funding, which, it does show that they're a little bit serious. Also, they're redoing the game from bottom up, and they've given control over to a proper gaming studio. So these guys clearly have the willingness to let go of their ego, They're willing to let another basically team take over a lot of the project, and they're willing to take feedback. So they're inexperienced, but they're willing to be open-minded, and actually they seem quite passionate about the project, right? They didn't stop giving up on it. They didn't stop working on it. They didn't give up on it. They are passionate about the project. So what would I rate this project right now? I would say a 6.5 to 7, right? A 7 in terms of if you have a decent risk tolerance, I would pick a few up. I think that they have potential. I think there is a small chance. I think there is a decent chance if they pull this off, this could be an easy 10x, right? Like if they are able to pull this off, the IDO goes well, the tokens, are valuable, then holding these BitBrawlers could be actually worth a lot more than it is now. The reason I give it a 7 out of 10 is, number one, the team is not doxed at all. Number two, the team seems inexperienced, which is why they didn't handle the whole communication strategy well, which is why on their website, they still have nothing. They've had delays, for example, on their staking. And yeah, it's just been generally a little bit slow on their end, right? So they're almost done with staking. So it's been a minor delay. Minor delays happen, so it's not that big of a deal. And then number three, the core founding team also doesn't seem to have major experience with game development. So that's definitely kind of a flag for me, right? So that's why, if the team came out, they said they were doxed, and, one of the guys had a lot of experience with game dev, I would buy 30 of them, 40 of them, easy. But I think it's worth buying a few because there is the chance of this being a comeback story. So overall, I think the price is very low for a play-to-earn game that's actually VC funded, but they do have the funds to pull it off. They have a cool concept. They have these agreements with other communities as well. And I do see some potential in the midterm, right? I don't know if they're going to be able to execute to turn this into a really, really fun game in the next 2 to 3 years. But I do see the potential where the narrative could take over of the comeback story and some major price action happening. There's strong comeback story potential, and I picked up 4 on the secondary. So in my opinion, they're not a conviction play. So a conviction play for me would be something like Panzer Dogs, right? Like I own something like 61 Panzer Dogs, right? And the reason for that is the team is fully documented. They've executed very well the whole time through. It's super undervalued. And I really do think that the Panzer Dogs will be worth 3 to 5 times more than they are right now, if not 10 times more. So guys, that's my update on BitBrawlers. I wanted to make this video because they've been on my radar and I ended up buying a few. And I just think it's cool to do these update videos versus just talking about new projects, because a lot of time you can find gems by just finding projects that are kind of forgotten. So in this case, I wouldn't call it a gem, but I do see the potential upside where if you check out their concept, if you like it at 0.48, it's not that expensive. And a few days ago when it was 0.35, I think that was a good deal. At 0.35, I would definitely have picked up a few. But even at 0.48, yeah, picking up a couple, it's low cost. And there's like, in my opinion, the project like this, there's either, like they're gonna stay around the same price range, or I'd say there's a good percentage chance that they're gonna improve maybe 2 to 3x. And I think there's a 10 to 15% chance they're gonna go to 10x, right? Because they're at 0.48 right now. It's not that hard to imagine them going to 4.8 to 5 SOL if they're able to execute and release a fun game that people actually start playing, or if they have a good narrative behind their IDO, behind the project. So guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment below what the next project is you'd like me to cover, and I appreciate you watching this video.